So throughout the month of May, we are talking about a few moms in the Bible, a month of moms. After all, moms deserve more than just a day, right? And so we're taking the whole month to talk about that. And to start us off today, I thought I'd share with you some momisms. That's what these have become in our culture, those classic yet seemingly crazy phrases that moms have a tendency to say. Now, I'm not going to point fingers, but probably if you're a mom, you might have said some of these things. Dads, you're probably guilty of these as well. But I'm sure we have heard them if we have never said them. And this is interactive, so please don't just sit and listen to me. I'm not going to be the talking head today. You're going to say it with me, all right? So here we go. Let's read each statement together. Here's the first one. Do you think I'm made of money? Yeah. Here's another. Don't make me come in there. Yeah, how many of you had moms ever say that? Yeah, I remember my mom saying that. Here's another. Somebody's going to end up crying. Yeah. Here's another one. How many times do I have to tell you? How many of you heard that one from your mom, right? This is a good one. Don't come crying to me if you get hurt. Yeah, I like this one. Put that down. You don't know where it's been. I remember hearing my mom say, don't lick that. You don't know where it's been. I don't know why I was licking it. But anyway, I remember my mom saying that. Here's another. When you have kids of your own, then you'll understand. Oh, my word. I can hear my mom's voice on that one. And then this next one. Here we go. Always wear clean underwear in case you get in an accident. Right? I love that one. Moms are always right. How many would agree with that, right? Most of the time, moms are always right. So today we continue our series, Momentum. We kind of a little spin on the word there. We're talking about just how moms create this influence, create this trajectory for families, and godly moms push families forward. And so that's what we're going to see today. But today we're going to look at a story that you don't expect me to talk about on Mother's Day. I guarantee you didn't come into this room today thinking, I bet Bart's going to talk about this mom today. Nope, you'll never guess this one. But I think you are here, I know you are here for a purpose. So back when I was a youth pastor, working with middle school students and high school students, every year we would take them on missions trips. A lot of the times, a couple of times a year, we would take them on missions trips. We lived in Northern California at the time, so specifically we would go to Mexico. That was kind of the easiest place to get them across the border, to experience foreign culture to them. And that year, most of my group, remember this is middle school and high school, so most of my group that year had never been on a missions trip before. These were newbies. And I loved taking newbies on missions trips because if you've never been out of our country, you have not experienced what life is really like. You come back with a whole new perspective of living in the United States, a whole new perspective of how God can use you and just all kinds of things. And I knew this was going to be, and on top of it all, I had over half of the group, get this, that had never, ever been away from home before. So I not only had students that had never been on a missions trip, I had students that had never been away from mom and dad before at home. So I knew this trip was going to be one of those trips that particular year that was going to be so fun and yet so very challenging to these students. So I've been praying, as months lead up into it, we have to get all kinds of paperwork done and all this. And I've been praying, God, you just do something special. Just do something special for these kids. And so we roll in, we're on a bus, and we roll into this little Mexican village 2 hours south from the border. So we were way down in Mexico for a missions trip at least. And we come to this little village, no running water, no electricity, very rustic area, very. The bus dropped us off right in the middle of town. I'll never forget this. It was kind of like a Western movie, a cowboy movie. It was just like we got dropped off in the dust, and whoa, whoa, whoa. There was this nobody out on the street. It was just this main road, and there was nobody there. And literally, as we are exiting the bus, we're standing there, and we hear this noise. It's coming from our right, and it's way down the road, and we hear, oh! We just kind of this, what is going on? And as they get closer, we realize this is a bunch of people. They're coming towards us. One of the girls that was standing next to me, Heather, she said to me, she said, look, they're excited that we're here. And I said to her, I don't think that's what that is. And I really, honestly, I did not know at first. And then I saw it. Oh, this is going to be good. That's what I thought in my head. This is going to be good. And I'm looking at these students that had never been on a missions trip, never been away from mom and dad. And they're standing right in the middle of what's taking place. And as the people grew closer, crowd grew closer and closer together to us, I saw it, and the students began to see it. 6 men carrying a piece of plywood over their head with a body on it, covered in a sheet. Flies. They passed right by us, and a crowd of people crying and wailing. It was a funeral procession. This was before iPhones and stuff. I didn't have a phone to video the students. I wouldn't have videoed the funeral. I would have videoed my students, because I just kind of glanced down the row of my students, and they're all, their mouth was wide open. They had never, some have never been to a funeral before, let alone seen a dead body before. And it was crossing right in front of us. This was our first experience to this missions trip. Only a few feet away. And you could see the tears of the family, and you could hear people sobbing. Right there on that road, life and death collided. And I knew this was going to change their life. To this day, I talked to some of these students, and they're grown up now and they got kids of their own, and they will tell you, yeah, that was a trip to remember. There was another mission trip where we were shot at, but I won't talk about that one today. This experience that we had is very similar to the story that we're going to look at today. Again, a story that you don't expect on Mother's Day, but it's found in Luke 7. The writer Luke tells us this: soon afterward, you got to ask the question, soon after what? Well, it's right after Jesus healed a servant of a Roman officer. Soon afterward, Jesus went with his disciples to the village of Nain, and a large crowd followed him. Think about that, a large crowd. Who was in the large crowd? Sometimes we don't think about a large crowd following Jesus. You know, if you've watched The Chosen and stuff, it's, just his disciples and a few ladies and maybe a few supporters. That's kind of the image that we have. But this says it was a large crowd. I'm sure his disciples and those supporters and women were there. But also, we can assume that there were other people there, probably people who had their lives healed and transformed and changed by Jesus. I'm sure there were people who were healed. There were families who were restored in that crowd. This was a large crowd. But here's my question: what kind of crowd was it? It was a happy crowd, right? I mean, it was an excited crowd. It was a joyous crowd. You know why? Because they were with Jesus, and Jesus was healing people, and Jesus was making things happen, and the crowd was filled with people who had experienced what Jesus can do in their life. Blind eyes and deaf ears had been healed. I mean, can you imagine? Blind people were following Jesus now. They could see, I'm sure. They could hear it. Paralyzed people now walking behind Jesus that had never walked before. People that were freed from demons now were following Jesus. Sick people made whole and well. Most of the crowd, I'm sure, was filled with people that Jesus had changed their life. So I'm sure that this was an excited crowd, a joyous crowd. In fact, in Matthew 9:35, you can write that down if you want, the writer tells us that Jesus and his disciples went from village to village healing people. He was teaching in the synagogue and healing people. So this crowd was gathering, it was growing. And Nain was close to where Jesus had already been. It was only 6 miles from Nazareth, so it was within a day's journey of Jesus and his disciples. And so this happy, joyous crowd just decided, we're going to go with Jesus. I get it. And as they approached the entrance to this little village, Nain, we read in verse 12 that a funeral procession was coming out of the village as Jesus approached the village. You see how I'm saying it's very similar to what we were experiencing on that missions trip. Jesus is walking with this crowd full of life into the village, and out of the village is coming this crowd full of death. Burial in that time was a community thing, very similar to what we experienced in that little village in Mexico. Most bodies had to be buried within hours of death because they didn't have embalming, and burials were outside the city gates for health reasons. We get all of that. In first century Galilee, people were generally buried without a coffin. The body was wrapped in linen cloth, it was anointed with spices, and then it was carried on an open wooden box called a bier. So onlookers could see the body and see what was going on. The writer Luke gives us the details. Look what he says. The young man who had died was a widow's only son. Now you see where the mother is involved here. A widow's only son, and a large crowd from the village was with her. Don't miss the fact that this woman had already buried her husband at some point. And now she's burying her son, but not just any son. What does it say? Help me out. Only son. This was the only man left in her life. And she's finding herself in an impossible situation. Now, if you know anything about the culture of that day, this wasn't just emotionally devastating. This was economically ruining. Family income came mainly from the men in that culture. Widows were dependent on their children. If they lost their husband's income, they were dependent on their children because there was no national welfare system. And so the situation for this widow was not only catastrophic, it was doubly catastrophic. She lost not only the people in her life, she lost her source of income. She lost everything. Literally, her life was being buried with her son. That's the image we have to get here. I'm sure that's why a large crowd was following her, because it was so tragic. I mean, the whole town came out because the tragedy was unbearable for her. Dozens, maybe hundreds of people standing and walking with this mother who had just lost her only son. Maybe they had prayed with her. Maybe she would go to synagogue and they would pray for her son to get well, and yet now they only see him die. So this was a community thing. This was a Jewish community crying out to God for the sake of this mother, for the life of her son, her future depending on him, and yet he died. And now the grief is tangible. The sorrow, it's in the air. Come on, just see this scene. This community is grieving in anguish for this mother. And this is the pivotal moment. This is so good. It's so good for you and me today. This is the pivotal moment where two contrasting crowds meet. A crowd of life following Jesus coming into the village, and a crowd of death carrying a body leaving the village. Friends, this is not just a coincidence. Come on, don't read the story as a coincidence. This is a dramatic encounter of life and death. A juxtaposition of this story is so clear. It's a collision of crowds. One crowd joyous, the other crowd grieving. One crowd happy, the other crowd sad. And there's this crash at the gate. I mean, not really, but really. Two different realities. And they collide at the gate. And who caused the collision? Jesus. Jesus orchestrated a collision between life and death. Earlier we read that Jesus went with his disciples to the village of Nain. Keep in mind, who was leading the crowd? Jesus. He knew what he was doing. Jesus wanted this to happen. Listen, friends, Jesus wants you to hear this today. He knows what he's doing. Jesus planned for this to happen. Timing is even the location. Oh, it's the busy village gate. It's where everything is taking place. So many people would see what was going to take place here. Jesus went there to disrupt things. If you don't know, that's the word that God gave me for this year for our church, is disruption. Don't know what your life is. If you're a part of Pathway Church, I don't know what your life has been like this year. But disruption, we have seen, Dee Dee and I have seen disruption in all sorts and sizes and all kinds and ways all throughout our life and the life of our church. Some good, some bad, some challenging, some growing, some still going on. Jesus went there to disrupt things, to change things. You know, I found out something about Jesus. Maybe you've never thought about this, but I did this week. Jesus doesn't do funerals very well. Have you noticed this? I mean, when he comes to a funeral, he ruins it every time. He messes it up. You know why? Because he brings life where there's death. That's what we're going to see here today. If you're listening, if you're in this room, if you're online today, Jesus has just stepped into your situation. I don't know your situation necessarily, but Jesus does. Jesus knows the timing, the location. He knows exactly what is going on in your life. He has just stepped into your grief. He stepped into your fears. He stepped into your stress and your anxiety, into your disappointment. He has stepped right into those times where you say, I don't know what to do anymore. Jesus is not afraid of it. He's not avoiding it. He's walking right into your life because he has the power to change what's going on in your life. And he wants to disrupt your life today. Don't miss this. Jesus wants to bring life where there's death. He wants you to experience life. You say, well, what is Jesus up to today? That's what he's up to. That's what he's doing. He's wanting to bring life where there's death. I think of when Jesus encountered another death scenario with his good friend Lazarus, and what he said to Lazarus' sisters is, I am the resurrection and the life. He's bringing life where there is death. Back to the story, Jesus came face to face with this funeral procession. Don't miss this. He sees it. It's coming. It's right there. And these two crowds collide. They might just stop right at the intersection. And it says, when the Lord saw her, the widow, his heart overflowed with what? What is that? Compassion. You know, it's one of the few times that word, specifically that word, is used in the New Testament for Jesus' emotion. Another time is in that story that I just mentioned with his friend Lazarus, that he had died. And Jesus saw the sisters and how they were responding, how they were crying out. And in John 11:35, it says that Jesus wept. He wept because of compassion. He felt for them. In this case, he feels for her. This is the thing I noticed. I want you to get this down. Jesus saw the widow. Jesus saw the widow. Not the crowd. Not the funeral, not the noise. Jesus saw her. He saw her. He saw her tears. He saw her shaking hands. He saw her grief. He saw her empty future. He saw her broken heart. He wasn't too busy. He wasn't in a rush. He wasn't distracted by what he had to do or what he had to say. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't checking his socials. He wasn't all wrapped in a conversation with his friends. Jesus was aware of the people around him. That should be a message for all of us as believers today. He was aware of their situations. Jesus didn't miss what was happening in the lives of other people because he was aware. He saw her. He saw the widow in the midst of her pain and her struggle. How many times do we see people around us at work, in our family, in our neighborhood? We see them in their struggle. Jesus is aware. Friends, Jesus is aware of what you're facing, what you're feeling. Jesus sees what's happening in your life. That should be like reaffirming to you. That should be just a boost to you today. That Jesus sees you for what you're facing and what you're facing. In the same account, we see that what Jesus saw in her life broke his heart. It broke his heart. I mean, we saw it in the text. Come on, read it with me again. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with what? Compassion. That word, compassion, in the original Greek that it's written in, it really refers to being a gut punch, moved in your gut. Like it just hits you. Like you just feel it in your core. You ever have a moment like that? Where you just feel grief for someone else. Like it just hits you so hard and heavy. Jesus didn't just feel bad for her. Jesus didn't just feel sorry for her. He felt her pain. It's crazy because very few people associate love and God together, even in our world, but especially in their world. But very few people do it. And so Jesus came to not only show the first century, but also to show the 21st century that God is a God of love, that God is a God who cares. To let love overflow from him and touch all the people that he came into contact with. That's what Jesus was doing. What about your life today? I mean, is there something going on in your life? Is there a situation that you're facing that you feel is hopeless? Is there a relationship that seems to have no future? Are you struggling with an addiction or struggling with a habit? Are you facing emotional distress or you are overwhelmed by anxiety? Are you facing a slow death in your marriage or in some relationship? Has your hope for your job or your finances or your kids ceased to exist? Have you lost hope? Do you feel helpless and trapped and overwhelmed? Friends, listen to me. Stop pretending that everything is okay, that everything is fine. Stop trying to carry on like everything is okay. Tell Jesus today, this is what hurts. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm facing, and I am overwhelmed by it. Tell him. What you need to know today is that Jesus cares about you. He not only sees what you're going through, he cares about, more than anything else, you need to know that he cares. And he's moved for you. He's moved to do something. Jesus cares about what you're facing. He cares about what you're feeling, what you don't know, what you do know. He cares. Look what Jesus says to the widow. 2 words. Come on, read it with me. Don't cry. Almost sounds like a parent saying, now, honey, just don't cry. It's going to be okay, right? That's what the way we read it in our culture. We read it that way. But from anyone else, that's the way it would sound. And to be honest, it kind of sounds uncaring or callous or insensitive a little bit, right? Oh, don't cry. What are you supposed to do at a funeral of your only son where your life is being lost? From anyone else, it would sound insensitive. But from Jesus, it's a loaded statement. It's an invitation. It's kind of like when you read in the Bible how many times where God comes into a scenario or the angel of the Lord comes into a scenario, and you know what he says? He says, don't be afraid. Fear not. Don't be afraid. Jesus is saying, don't cry. You know why? He's basically saying, don't cry because I'm going to do something. Don't cry, because things are going to change in a split second. Don't be afraid. Don't stress out. Don't lose it in anxiety. Don't be afraid, because I'm going to do something. That's what he's saying. By speaking to this widow, he's interacting with her. He's on purpose. He's saying this whole encounter is about you. That's what I love about it. That's why I brought it for Mother's Day. It's not about the son who died. It's not about the crowds. It's about that mom. And Jesus is reaching out to her. And here's the thing, and I love this about Jesus. He doesn't wait to be asked. Think about this. He enters right into her sorrow. He doesn't wait for her to pray some special prayer. He doesn't wait for proof of faith, that she has faith. Nothing is said. We don't even know her name. It doesn't say that she believes in Jesus or not. It doesn't say. He moves towards her because he feels for her. And he has love and compassion for her. And he knows, I can change things for her. This shows you how Jesus just steps right into the moments of our lives with us. He comes into these moments, and what he says, don't cry. Don't be afraid, don't fear, because something's going to happen. Friends, something can happen in your life today. Like if I would just open up and say, I need your help, Jesus. The difference that could be made. Jesus steps right into our lowest moments. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but that just moves me. This is one of the few instances where Jesus initiates without being asked for help in the Gospels. He's acting entirely on his own initiative. Look what it says. Then Jesus walked over to the coffin. Think about this. 2 words. Don't cry. Then he walks to the coffin. He touches it. And everybody gasp with me right here. And he touches it. Okay, there you go. That was great. You guys did great there. You should be in drama. Jesus walked over the coffin and he touched it. And the bearers stopped. The whole funeral stopped. He stopped the funeral. He messed it up. Now think about this for a minute. Jesus was on his way to the village to do some exciting things, to move in people's life, to teach, to heal, all this. He had a crowd with him. He had things to do. He had places to go, people to see, all this. He could have just guys, move back, let them through. And they could have just stood there in reverence and watched the funeral procession just go by. Okay, let's go. That's what he could have done. But he didn't. And he did something so outrageous that everybody around, that's why they stopped. Everybody seeing what he did. For a Jewish rabbi to do something like this was completely out of the box. Boom, boom. That was a really funny joke. You just missed my pun there. Okay, coffin, box. Anyway, all right. By Jesus touching the open box, the open coffin, Jesus was unclean by Jewish law. It's what Leviticus says it too, but Numbers 19 is real clear. All those who touch a dead human body will be ceremonially unclean. That's exactly what Jesus did. It's not just the body, it's also the carrier, okay? So don't miss that. So he touched the coffin. He's stepping into this. My question here is, why did Jesus touch the coffin? He didn't have to touch the coffin, right? We know that. I mean, there are accounts where Jesus doesn't even go near the person that's healed. Like there's one account where the guy's like, I have somebody at home, and he goes, oh yeah, go home, he's going to be healed. And he's healed. Jesus didn't even see the person. So Jesus doesn't have to touch the coffin. He doesn't have to make himself unclean. I think he touched the coffin because Jesus is telling us that he's willing to go to any length to get involved in our lives. Jesus is choosing to break social norms and religious norms to show his care and his compassion, to let all of us know that he connects with our pain. I also think that Jesus touched the coffin to step right into the mess. He wasn't afraid of getting unclean. He wasn't afraid of death. He wasn't afraid of the mess. He's not afraid of your mess. Don't ever feel like I can't go to him because I'm just all messed up and it's just too much. I think of the story where Jesus is on the boat. Do you remember this story? He's on the boat with Peter, and Jesus causes them to throw out the nets, and all these fish come on the boat, and Peter, the fisherman, is just overwhelmed, and he falls to his knees, and he says, Lord, I am a sinful man. I can't be here. You can't be in my boat. I mean, that's kind of what he's saying. And we have this tendency to go, I'm all messed up. I'm a sinful person. I can't come to you, God, with my stuff because I'm so messed up. You don't want to get in here with me. It's so wrong. It's so messed up. And Jesus is saying, just move over. I'm coming in. I'm stepping right into this. Jesus will step right into your unclean place to bring life. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's going to face any situation so that he can be with you, no matter what. He's going to step right into your addiction, into your habits, into your shame, into your sin, into your brokenness, into your failure. You need to know that Jesus wants to get involved in your life. He wants to get involved in whatever you're facing right now. That's why you're here. That's why you're watching. That's why you're in the room. He wants you to know he wants to get involved in your life, no matter how dirty, no matter how impossible, no matter how hopeless, no matter how dead things seem. You know, there's an intriguing way of looking at this. There's been all kinds of conversation about this where Jesus touched the coffin and did he become unclean, you know, all of that kind of. As with many other healings where Jesus touched a person, like he touched a leper, he touched another dead body. Instead of the coffin making Jesus unclean because it carried death, Jesus brought life to the death of the coffin by touching it. Friends, he's not contaminated by your mess. He's the cleansing agent. He's the one who can come in and change everything. He's not afraid of your mess. All in one motion, his touch with a simple command. Jesus demonstrates total authority. Look what he says, young man, I tell you, get up. And what happens? Look at the next verse. And the dead man sat up and began to speak. Does you like that? He began to speak. I wonder what he was saying. You guys, you won't believe this. I don't know what it was. I wonder what he was sharing. Wow, what just happened? I don't know. Here's the best part, though. Best part of the whole story right here. And Jesus gave him to his mother. What a Mother's Day that was, huh? She experiences life again. Can you imagine the level of joy that she had right then? What a turn of events. Parading down the road in this funeral procession, sadness and gloom and grief. Here's Jesus. Jesus says a few words, actually 2 words to her, 2 words to the dead body. Boom, he's alive, he's awake, he's talking. Jesus gives him back to his mom. Can you imagine the turn of emotion in this woman? The joy. Why I wanted to end our worship time today was there's joy in this house. Can you imagine the joy? Wow. Joy she had lost because death had come, but now she had joy again, all because Jesus stepped right into the middle of her situation and he brought life. Some of you have lost your joy, and you need life. And Jesus is the only one that can bring this. As we wrap off today, I want us to look at one more word that grabbed my attention. It's something that we missed earlier. Maybe you caught it, but I didn't until I reread this passage, and then I saw this word. Look at it, verse 13. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. Remember, we already read that 3 times so far. This is the 4th. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. The writer doesn't say when Jesus saw her. He's been using his name, Jesus, all along, but in this verse right here, he says, the Lord. Circle that word, the Lord. This is the first time in the Gospel of Luke that the writer uses the term Lord. And it's important. Luke is using this Greek word, kurios, and it refers to someone possessing total authority and control, unrivaled, unequaled, someone with absolute authority and power. Get this. It's also a title given to God as the ruler of the universe. In fact, the Apostle Paul uses the same word in Acts 17 when he says, the God who made the world and everything in it is the, what is that? Lord of heaven and earth. You know what I think Luke is pointing to? I think Luke is saying, nothing is impossible with Jesus. Come on, say that with me. Nothing is impossible with Jesus. Friends, you don't ever underestimate what Jesus can do. You say, this is far, this is past, this is dead, it's gone too far, nothing can change, it's impossible, it's hopeless. There's nothing that can take place in this scenario, in this relationship, in this job, in anything that I'm facing. And there's nothing that can take place. And Luke is saying, no. He is Lord. Nothing is impossible. Jesus can bring life into any situation. It's never too hard. It's never too late. Jesus has the ability, the power to bring life into that situation for you. I believe that. And friends, Jesus still does it. This isn't just a story in the past, like it happened in the 1st century, and here we are 20 centuries later, and then, Jesus kind of lost a step now, He's not as strong. He's not as strong as he used to be, Really? Jesus still walks into hopeless situations, and he still sees broken hearts, and he still feels compassion, and he touches what other people avoid, and he still brings life where death has been. And today, right now, on Mother's Day 2026, Jesus is stepping into your story. I want to encourage you to do something. Let him collide with your pain. Let him see it. Don't hold it back. Don't act like everything is okay, because it's not. Let him see it. Let him interrupt what you're feeling. Let him disrupt your grief and your hurt. Do you believe Jesus can bring life where there is death? If you believe that, then let him do it. Today, let him do it. Ask him to come into your life and do that in your life right now in whatever area you need it in. Say, Jesus, I need life where there is death. Let me pray for you. Would you bow your heads? With no one looking around, I'm going to tell you right now, Jesus has walked right into your situation. Every eye closed, please. He's walked right into your situation. You may not have expected that on Mother's Day, but Jesus does a lot of unexpected things. What is that area that you need life? Jesus wants to bring life there. With no one looking around, please, every eye closed. you'd say, I need life. I have tried, and I can't fix things. I can't change things. I can't do anything about this scenario. I have tried. And it feels dead. And I feel overwhelmed. I need life. I need joy that only Jesus can bring. No one looking around, please. If that's you, I want to pray for you today. My heart has been for you all week. Just slip up a hand and say, that's me. I want life. Yeah. Anybody else? I want life. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Ah. Jesus, our hearts are heavy today. We've come into this place with a heaviness. And yet today we have collided with your life. We didn't expect you to show up in this way, but here you are. And you are interrupting and you are disrupting and you're bringing life. And right now, we are crying out to you. We're saying, look at this mess. Look at what all of this is. We're opening it up to you. We're saying we're so tired and overwhelmed and trying. We can't do this anymore. There's nothing we can do that could change things. We need you to bring life where there is death. So right now I pray for my friends, some that have raised their hands, others I know that are not in this room, that are watching, others that God, you're just moving in their life. I know you are. I pray for my friends that they would find you, that they would find you. You are the way, the truth, and the life. You are the resurrection and the life. You have come, Jesus, that we may have life to its fullest. You have given your life so that we could have life. Everything about you is life, Jesus, and that's what we need. We need you. We don't need a fix. We don't need a solution. We don't need steps. We need you. So come in like a flood, Jesus. That overflowing compassion and love and care that you have, just flood into our lives with that. And begin to change things in ways that we could never change them. In a split second, you can bring life where there's death. If anything, give us some joy back. We miss our joy. Change our hearts. Let us trust you. We pray it in your name, and everybody said, amen. God is good, isn't he? He really is. He makes us right where we are in ways that we don't expect. Thanks for being here today. Make sure you share some love with a mom around you. Tell them Happy Mother's Day. Hope to see you next week.